My name is Stephen DeTombe. I'm from Illinois, the Quad Cities originally. I grew up there. Went in the Navy when I was out of school. Went to college. Didn't really like that, so I went out and worked and built my career up from. Started out as an office manager, then fleet manager, then went to transportation manager for another company, then a project manager for a different trucking company, got into manufacturing with John Deere, so I worked at 3 different plants, salaried for John Deere, and then I worked for what used to be Alcoa, it's now Arconic, it's the finished goods side of Alcoa that split off from the mining and raw material side. Then I got laid off for COVID, just did a little bit on my own. I did some carpentry and things like that on my own to get by until I could find another job. One reason I chose PMG, because at the time that I got hired, I had 3 different job offers. The reason I chose PMG is the portability of the job. My wife and I would like to move out west from Illinois, and we're looking at Colorado, and I can basically do this job from anywhere. My home base can be in Colorado, and I can work in Minnesota if I have to. And so it gives me that flexibility that I want to have in a job, to be able to relocate and live where I want to live, do what I want to do. Actually, it wasn't till a year after I got laid off. So I got laid off in 2020, July of 2020, and the PMG ad said something about warehouse supervisor. I'm like, I could probably do that. And because I'd been in warehousing before, and I've been a supervisor forever. So, and I can't remember if it said offsite or, but it indicated someplace in Illinois. It's not like the ad was deceptive, but the ad drew me in, and I said, hey, I've got the skill set. And so once I started talking to Mackenzie, we had a conversation. She's like, oh, you're perfect for the job, whatever. I'm gonna move you up to Jason. Waited for a week for Jason's interview, and got the real flesh on the bones of what I thought the job was, and I was really excited. And the 2 other jobs that I was offered right before I got the offer from PMG, I kind of held them off to see if you guys would offer me the job. And my wife and I took the weekend to consider it. We thought about both jobs, and we were both super excited about this one, so that's why we took it. So there's not a person that I've talked to yet that has had like a wag the finger at you, like, where are you doing this? You're allowed to make mistakes, and that support is there all the way up from, Jim is basically has been my go-to guy, Jim Wheeler, and Wally backs him up, so I go to Wally sometimes. But I've sent Jason a message, and I know how busy Jason is, but 7 o'clock at night, I hear him doing dishes with his kids in the background. He's on the phone making sure I'm getting my question answered. So, and I told Jason this too. I said, one thing I really feel about PMG is I feel supported. And I think that from payroll to HR, accounting, management, everybody is there to support us in the field. And never once have I felt like I'm out here on an island alone. I think anybody so it takes a different kind of person to be on the road. And they've got a mindset of they want to do something to succeed, either for themselves or family. They're motivated by something. And so that brings them out on the road. And that motivation in itself gives the potential to be a good tech. The skill set is, where they're lacking, and they can build that skill set by taking easier assignments. And maybe that's on us to give them a little bit easier assignment and break them in, especially if they're younger. I was a supervisor on the production floor for about 15 years in different companies. And I've been in warehouse management for more than that. I've been trucking, transportation management. So, I kind of know what it takes for someone to be able to succeed. You do have to have a base of skill to be able to succeed, especially in an assembly or a weld or, especially CNC. And I know that we do have some CNC machinists. But if they don't have that base of knowledge and that skill set that they've developed through time, it's gonna be harder for them to succeed. So if we do, bring in new people that don't have a lot of experience, putting them in easier assignments that we can assess actually sets them up to be more successful, rather than throwing them into something that we know is probably gonna be a little bit more difficult. So I think one thing that a lot of people in the military don't realize is their path is not normal. And what I mean by that is you're 18 years old, you get out of school, you go through boot camp, and you're given responsibility for millions of dollars of equipment, other people's lives, that kind of thing. That's a lot of responsibility. You look at all the kids going to school, they're looking at, where's the next party, and do I really have to go to this class? In the military, you're made to do that. And so you develop that structure, you develop that responsibility, but then you also develop, a self-reliance that people don't have that weren't in the military. And so being from the military, being fresh out, this kind of role, you're already set up for success for that, because you already have the rigor of the responsibility that you had, not just in your job, but taking care of your uniforms, getting yourself up, doing your day-to-day job. You already have that rigor. You would plug into BMG perfectly, because a lot of it is your own responsibility. You're living on the road, you could have a remote project manager that's not there to knock on your door. You got to get yourself up. You have to make sure you're fed, your clothes are clean, you're going to the client. You have to have the confidence, which you've already gotten from being in charge of millions of dollars of equipment in the military. You've already got that confidence to be able to go in and be part of the manufacturing, the manufacturing facility where you're working. You're going to be part of that project and be successful. And most of it is because of how you've been set up to succeed from the military. Well, I think their military experience speaks for themselves, but to be successful, you just have to rely on what you learned. You have to rely on who you were and how you were successful in the military. If you've been honorably discharged, you've obviously been successful, and in a more rigorous place than you'll ever work again. Manufacturing, yes, you have to always be looking out for yourself and others as far as safety. You have to care about the quality. And you have to have that accountability, which I think the military gives you. You have to have that personal accountability to be successful in that. But you already have all the tools you need. You just have to make the decision and go out and do it. And one other thing about being in the military is you're used to deployments. You're used to living away from home. You're used to, when I was in the Navy, we went out for 6-month deployments. Well, my first 6-month deployment turned into a 9-month deployment because of Desert Shield. So, we were planning on going out in like August 6th, and I think Saddam invaded Kuwait on like August 4th, and one of the old guys said, well, I know where we're gonna go for the next year. And we're like, what? A bunch of new guys going out first. And sure enough, we were over there till the following April, and we were only supposed to be out for 6 months. So military's used to that. They're used to the extensions. They're used to the life on the road. I think they would fit comfortably into that as well. So I was always a supervisor. I've never actually worked it, but the one thing that translates now is, and you need to have this talk with anybody, no matter where they are. As a project manager, you need to be on the floor to at least understand. You don't have to be out there, 12-hour shift. You don't have to be out there for 12 hours. There's other stuff that you have to do during the course of your day. But you have to be able to understand what are the safety hazards, what are the safety risks. You have to talk through those with your technicians and make sure that they know that safety is not just a talking point, it's a way of life. So that's the first thing that you learn in manufacturing is safety is most important. I've seen people lose their fingers. I've seen people, get lacerations, need stitches, get knocked out, broken bones. It's dangerous on the floor. I don't care what the manufacturing facility is. If there's a forklift, it's dangerous. If there's moving parts, there's machine guarding that needs to be done. Everything is a potential safety hazard, and you need to think of it that way. But then you have those conversations with your people like, hey, how do you feel safe? You know, what are your potential hazards? There's things called JSAs that engineers do on at every work center, and those JSAs present the potential hazards. You can ask your client, do we have JSAs? You know, are our techs being presented with those JSAs, and are those being discussed with them, so they know what the potential risks are and they know what to look out for too. But then you should be able to access them as well. You know, they should either be on a computer or in a book, somewhere in or near that work center that you can access them and have that conversation if someone is feeling unsafe about their job as well. I hope so. You know, I had this one tech who didn't make it, and for whatever reason, they just didn't fit in with the people at the plant. And in my estimation, it was a lot due to their inability to let things in their own personal life go. You know, they couldn't just take a deep breath and look at the work differently. And so I tried working with them, tried coaching them. The client ultimately let them go, but I've had several conversations with this person, because when I said, hey, the client's sending you home and here's why, I had an honest but respectful conversation with them. These are the reasons why, and you know, here's some things that you can do to offset that. They've actually called me 2 other times for advice on how to do things in their own personal life and get a different job since then, and how to approach those things. So I think even if the person isn't with it, if you do show that you care and you are honest and you have good conversations with people, that will reflect in those personal relationships. And you know, I think that's one of the things on this that, even though it was a failure for the client and for that person, I think was a successful relationship for me, and it's the way that I approach all relationships. So I'm hoping that with the team that I have, it builds that confidence with them, and most of my team would like to work with me again in the future. Professionally, I think that we're on the right track to increase a solid base of techs, and I realize with the growth, you're gonna have, you know, the chaff with the good. And so getting that solid base of techs where our clients can rely on us to send them, you know, 3.5, 4, 5s all the time is going to help PMG grow. I think that's our key to success, is the quality of the technician that we send out. So I already talked about the goal to move out west, and I think PMG is what I would like to do with PMG is, you know, on-site is great, but I would rather be a remote project manager. I would like to have, you know, 3, 4, 5, whatever projects, small projects to deal with at one time. That's something my wife is working on, getting a remote job through her work. I would like to do the same, and then that would allow me to have my home base without having to travel. And I know you got to pay your dues and put your time in, so I'm not rushing that. I think after talking to the technicians who have worked for places like Manticore and Huffmasters and places like that before they come to PMG, they are impressed with PMG. And so that gives me the confidence that PMG actually is probably the company that it's selling itself as. The people that I work with give me that confidence too, because I feel supported. But I also like the direction that we're going, so I know that there is a future for not just the techs, but for me here too.
Hi, still here? That's great. You know, it'd be real great if you help us get this video out in front of other people too. Go ahead and click the like and share button wherever it is on your screen below my head. We'll really appreciate the solid.